Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, friends. My name is Jesse, and I'm joined here by Ryan and Z. What's up, guys?
What's up, man?
We're gonna kick things off with some our roots, I suppose. Something we haven't really talked about in a while, right? We haven't really talked like video games, have we? We haven't really had like an episode about besides our initials, like our first ones.
No,
We were doing the overrated and underrated. We haven't talked about video games like a lot.
a long time. Yeah.
I don't feel like I've even seen a video game in years at this point.
Damn, it's been
It's been all urban legends and
I was gonna say you've been playing Ark that long.
It's not even real.
That's real
It's not a
life.
game.
So we're going to talk a little bit about open world games. Not about whether we like them or dislike them, but why is there so many goddamn open world games nowadays? I have some hot takes. I'm sure Ryan and Z have their hot takes. So I'm gonna let my uncles go first. My papas,
Your
my white
uncles.
papas.
All right, adopted son.
Yes,
Yeah,
adopted
open
dad.
world just seems to have flooded gaming really kind of exponentially, right, over the past 10 years or so, where it used to be kind of its own genre. Now it's just like a subgenre of every other genre. Yeah. Kind of like we were saying before we started recording, it was like Zelda was like, oh, we need to make Zelda an open world game now. Dark Souls like, oh, we need to make Dark Souls an open world game now. And that seems to be everything is going that direction nowadays, which is cool. But I think where you're going with this is kind of unnecessary.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. I mean, Jay, I know. I'll keep mine brief.
Oh no, I'm just agreeing.
When it comes to the open world games, like I didn't really start noticing everything became open world. I would say until I would probably say like when God, I don't know. Maybe it was after Skyrim's. I can't remember. Like, I had a thought in my head where I was just like, Jesus Christ, every fucking game is an open world game. Then when the Switch came out, like you said, Zelda became the open world game. And now I feel like every AAA title is an open world game, which I personally am not complaining about that because I feel like you get the most content of it. But we all know the song and dance of open world games. Oh, great. Peter Parker left 10 backpacks all over the city. Gather them up. Oh, gather these up. Gather those up. And it's just an excuse to get you to explore the world. I mean, do the worlds become too big?
Yeah. So I mean, the thing is, like, it's just I don't mind them either, right? Like, I do enjoy a good open world game, but when it starts becoming everything that I'm consuming, it's like, oh, here we go, another open world game. Time to go fetch some items, like you said, Z. Go collect everything. I think where I differentiate is the gameplay style. Like, Spider-Man, you at least you get to swing around the city and you're fucking Spider-Man, which is badass. I love that game. But then you get games like, and not to shit it around, right? I've never played them. Then you get like Horizon Zero Dawn, or then you get your Assassin's Creeds. That the same thing, right? It's essentially the same fetch formula. You're not really doing anything different. Well, this is for Assassin's Creed. I've never played Horizon, like I said. I've heard it's a good game, but another open world game, and I'm like, dude, I'm an adult. I hardly had time to game, and these games require so much of my time for me to like really enjoy them that it's really hard to keep up with all these open world games.
I think it's funny how the gaming industry has evolved to cater towards folks like us in their mid 30s who have full-time jobs, and they've done that with franchises that we've grown up with. Yet these 120 hours Persona games keep coming out with high, but then again,
see,
I just think like it's catered towards like what we want, but not catered to the reality of our time, of our time management.
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
I feel like Persona, I mean, since you brought it up, it's a little bit different than with an open world game, because at least it's a JRPG, so you can kind of pace yourself. You can say like, all right, I'm gonna knock this out during this part, or get to this part of the game, knock out this chapter or something, and then I'll continue the next chapter tomorrow or something.
Yeah, I think I said this in a previous episode, but Bethesda games, I mean, there's no denying that they're some of the best games out there. I mean, and just in terms of pure content, they're well written. They might be buggy, but that doesn't really take away from what they put into it. However, as much time as I put into Morrowind and Oblivion and Skyrim and Fallout, I think in this day and age, new Elder Scrolls comes out in a year or two, I'm not gonna be able to play it like I played those games in the past. Like it just there's you're right, we're getting older and sure there's a new breed of kids coming up playing games and stuff that will have time for it, and that's cool, but like I don't know. Maybe we're just grumpy old men complaining because we don't have time, right?
Well, I mean,
Maybe.
what I was gonna say, like, let's think about it. Let's go back when Morrowind, right, was around, or when Oblivion was around. You really didn't have a lot of those game types, if I at least remember correctly. So you kind of,
No, they were kind of like the birth of like the Western RPG. Like most open world stuff was like JRPGs and stuff
yeah.
at the time.
I mean, sure, you had your Witchers, you had your Fallouts, which I guess also Bethesda, but they were kind of, I guess, I don't know, going off the cuff here, and I'm not thinking of any other games, but they're very far in between. They weren't really many of those, so you could play that game a lot, and you didn't have to worry about fuck. I have to start Elden Ring now. Fuck, Horizon Zero Dawn or Horizon Forbidden West came out.
I've definitely thought about this, and especially on the lines of when I visited like old games of my past, like so I used to be a big EverQuest player, which was one of the first of its kind of MMOs, other than like Asheron's Call and all that. But it's a big open. It was gigantic. There was all zones and everything. And then I didn't play it for years, and I booted it back up probably about a year ago, and I was like, I can't fucking play this. And because our minds have changed and everything is just faster paced now, and what was okay is now no longer okay. Do you think like has to do with the fact that all these games are so huge and so open world? Is because the brains of like Gen Zs, that they're faster and their preferences are faster, and do you think that has anything to do with that at all?
I mean,
they
I
are.
would
No, I
certainly
think
say-
I honestly think Gen Z is like the smartest generation. So it's
well, for me, I'd say like I already have a short attention span as it is. So if an open world game doesn't like capture me within its first few moments, I'm probably not gonna play it.
Gotcha.
Or well, I'm gonna use this as an example. Kind of like when Dying Light 2 came out, another open world game. I played that for a week or two, but then Elden Ring came out. So
did you
I was
beat
like,
Elden Ring though?
I still haven't beaten Elden Ring. I got so lost and
yeah. So see, that's the thing. It's an open world game comes out every goddamn week.
That's like I can't keep up with these.
Gotcha.
Like, yeah, it's one thing when you have a game come out every week, but it's something that you can play through. It's linear. Hey, there's 12 levels in this game. I just got to make it through 12 levels. But when you start adding in 500,000 side quests and collectibles and everything else, that number starts to get much larger. Like the other night, me and you and Justice played Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge.
Shout out to Justice.
We knew, shout out. We knew going in, it was like 2 hours of gameplay. It was 16 levels, and we beat it in one night, and it was so fulfilling. Like, it was so much fun.
Like, yeah, I beat a game in 2022 somehow.
We even made the joke on like how like I can actually say I beat a game this year.
Yeah, I beat 2 games this year. Excuse you.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
You and Z both just beat a game this week.
True.
Right?
But does it count if he's already beaten it before?
No.
Yeah, I think it counts.
I mean, Chrono Trigger.
I mean, you did beat. I mean, essentially, by definition, you did beat a game, right? You just didn't beat a new game.
No, yeah, I beat a game this year. Yeah. Well, I beat Chrono Trigger at least once every year, and it's a kind of a tradition of mine, and I just happened to do that one in 17 hours in one stream. So,
hey, man, you did it. You said you do it, and you did it.
Yeah, but at the same time, like I'll tell you, like that took months, like a month, 2 months of like knowing I was going to have Juneteenth off, knowing this and starting at this time, letting my wife know that, hey, I'm going to be missing in action, like, because we're older, like we have shit to do and everything, and
Yeah, you
so
can't
I'm
just
on
go off the
your
grid.
yeah, and I'm on your side. Like, God, when Elden Ring dropped, I boot up the game and I see the open world these days, and I get like a panic attack with how much shit is in these games.
Like, you get overwhelmed. Or at least this is mine, right? I'm like, fuck, I have so much shit to do in this game, and then I'm like, I don't want to do this right now. I need something more straightforward, something more mindless right now. And not to say that it's a bad thing, right? Because I mean, people love that game for a reason. Like, the game is a good game. We're limited on our time, and we have set our priorities.
Does it ever?
So this is sounding less about open world games at this point than it is about just us getting older.
Yeah, this is our we're old.
The
as
beef
hell.
isn't
all
really
right,
with
let's run
open
it back.
world games.
Let's really back to open world games. And
Yeah.
why have they become so frequent, right? Like, because I mean, like, think about it. I mean, and the perfect example I'm gonna use right now is fucking Halo became open world.
I was gonna bring that up too.
Yeah.
And it was phenomenal.
It was good.
It was
Yeah,
great.
it was good.
I loved it. I thought it really changed the game and was innovative versus like the same formula over and over in the past few Halo games.
I will tell you this: what makes an open world game for me, like that I'm able to actually play it all the way through and finish it, is travel in the open world game. And here's why that's a big deal for me. Because if I can get around quickly in a fun way, I'm still having fun and I'm still getting shit done in a timely manner. That's why I haven't beaten Elden Ring yet myself, because you get a horse. It's like, but Spider-Man, you can web swing. Halo, you're basically Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, fuck it, web swinging in every open world game from here on out.
It has to be a norm. It has to be a norm.
if you're gonna make an open world game, give me a grappling hook or
web
let
shooters.
me shoot webs.
Yes, developers, are you listening? Are you listening, developers?
No, get rid of the fast travel bullshit. Give me web shooters. Give me grappling.
Seriously. I spent most of my time in Halo fucking grappling between trees.
Dude, when you get the upgrade, you can just shoot it quickly and climb yourself up.
Yeah.
That's a good point. If your open world game, if anytime I have to go anywhere, I choose to fast travel instead of any other form of transportation, something is wrong with your level design, or something is wrong with how your quests are set up, or something. Like, I should not want to look at a loading screen instead of all the work you put in on your game.
What if I'm just lazy?
Yeah. Well, that's a you problem, Jay. But yeah, Spider-Man, Sony Spider-Man. I fast traveled once, mainly because I didn't know what the icon did, and really? I was like, "Oh, that's fast travel," and then I never touched it again because the web swinging was fun.
And I'm not saying like I should never have to fast travel. Like, yeah, obviously you're going to. I'm saying if I use it as my main mode of transportation around your map, the whole game.
I would say I would agree with that. I mean, please don't take it off, because sometimes I'm like, bro, I just want to get there.
Oh, don't take it off. Yeah. Just make something else more enticing. Right. Like, make me want to walk through the land. Like, maybe there's a chance I see a rare creature. Maybe there's a chance that I find some cool loot, something like that. But if I don't have any kind of incentive to not fast travel, I'm going to fast travel.
Right. To make it very clear, Jay, developers aren't really listening, so they're not going to take fast travel away.
Wait, you're telling me Naughty Dog is not paying attention to our podcast?
Oh my God! If Naughty Dog, if you're listening, leave a comment below, please.
There's 3 of them right back there.
Yeah. I see what you did there.
I mean, yeah, I think to take your side on that, because I mean, what I loved about traveling in Spider-Man, specifically in Miles Morales, I love them both, but Miles Morales, just the way he would swing around the city, like, so different and like so unique, and in the way, I don't know if y'all have played it or not.
I played it.
Yeah,
I've seen videos.
Yeah, he would swing around like really cool ways, just the movements that he would do, and then even if you equip the Into the Spider-Verse outfit, and he would do the animation style of Into the Spider-Verse.
That's cool.
I feel like if you're gonna make an open world game, I'm on your side, Jay. I don't have all the fucking time to do it, but I'm more inclined to play an open world game if you make your world an actual character of the game. You know, like make it enticing, and part of that is traversing through it. Make me want to do it. Don't force me to gather shit to see the work that you guys have done. Like it's make it fun for me to like give me a stupid tool like a grappling hook, and I'll just be like I'll be like the kid farting in bathtubs when he was a kid. Like I'm having a good time, you know. It's
what an analogy.
That's the other thing. Like, there's right ways and wrong ways to do an open world game, right? Like, if it's just a blank landscape and you just send me go kill 10 bunnies, go gather 12 hide, go do this and that, like, it's gonna get old. And there was no point in making this an open world game other than to say you did it.
Yeah.
Like, make it a reason for an open world game.
I think Final Fantasy 15 is the biggest culprit of let's make it open world for the sake of making an open world, because that world, while it is a gorgeous world, like you are in a car that's on an auto track most of that fucking game. Like
it's one of like the biggest open world games, I think, too.
It is.
That's not procedurally generated.
Yeah, it is, but it's not. It's basically empty, you know. And then Breath of the Wild came out, and everybody complained about that being empty. I'm like, yeah, but at least I only had to gather Makoko seeds, and at least I found out early that you just get a pile of gold shit if you get it, and then I just stopped gathering them. You know, it's.
I would agree. Playing through Breath of the Wild, maybe after hearing that, I noticed it. At first, I didn't notice it, but
how empty it was.
Yeah, I really didn't notice it until they got pointed out to me how empty it was. I was like, holy shit, there really is nothing out here.
Yeah. And it's one of the smaller, it's smaller, but it's one of the open world games that's not as big as a lot of the culprits. So it is crazy that with its size that they didn't fill it out more.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would just,
Oh, finish your thought.
Oh no, go ahead. Mine was going to go
have
something else.
If you were to play like an open world game, like a modern, like an open world game of today, like if you had to pick one that you would play and you had all the time in the world to play, which one would you pick?
If I could play any?
Yeah. And you've never played it before, but you had the opportunity to play it. Like, it's a weird question, I know, but
No. It is tough.
I don't know. I'm torn between Spider-Man and Elden Ring.
So something I've played before, but in this hypothetical, I had never played it. And I could go back and play it.
Yeah, so it's like anticipation at this point. So
Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh really?
Oh wait. You mean any game? I thought you meant open world game.
That's what I meant.
Well, I guess Coder is.
Yeah, Coder's open world.
You go to any planet.
Open segments.
Open segments. You're right.
It's not like open world sandbox, but it's still like, I don't know, maybe.
I mean, it kind of still is small, but it's open world.
Yeah.
And this is the point of clarification. Like, what is an open world game?
I think I guess open world sandbox is different than open world.
Yeah, because like we were talking about earlier, the original Legend of Zelda is open world.
That one's pretty much.
Yeah, it's open world.
That's Breath of the Wild. That's Breath of the Wild flat in 2D plane, or not 2D plane, but yeah.
When they were,
but it's still linear.
When they were developing Breath of the Wild, they actually made a NES version of the map. You know, just to kind of like as a map. You know, so yeah, that's an open world.
I would say it is. That one's open world because it is all connected. You know, you don't have to travel from point A to point B. Like, you know, sit through a loading screen to take you to this part of the world. AKA on a spaceship taking you to another planet.
I think
you could just walk across the entire map.
I honestly think it would be Grand Theft Auto 5 for me. Because there's just a ton to do in that game. They really don't give you many fetch, like there's quests and everything, but you can I can boot up that game and just explore and just.
I went back and replayed it last year. I didn't fully beat it again, but I made it quite a ways, and I forgot like how good that fucking game
the campaign
is
like amazing.
Like you're saying, every single mission you get is well written, like well scripted, like everything is just perfect.
And the NPC behavior on non-missions, like I think that's how Red Dead Redemption 2 is as well. Like just because the world, like it's what I was saying earlier, the world is a character, and so that's what makes it fun to explore. And Skyrim does this too. Skyrim never gave you like, give me 10 rat tails to do this, and And Skyrim literally just kind of puked you out, and you could just go anywhere and do anything. And I feel like,
Mhm.
you know, modern ones, and Spider-Man is a culprit of this, is like, oh, Peter Parker left 20 backpacks. Oh, you got to find 5 cameras of this. You got to do this. And it's like, dude, just make your world more interactive.
That is the thing with Skyrim, though. It's like we were talking about earlier, man. Like, I think if I got that game for the first time today and loaded in, I would just be like, I do not have time for this. Like, it's just so much. The first time I played Skyrim, the first time I booted up that game, I remember I loaded in. You get to not Whiterun, but the little village before it. It's like where you start, and I just like went out and exploring, killing shit, doing side quests and stuff before I started the first mission ever. Got to like level 20 or 30 before I even started the first mission.
That was me on Elden Ring.
It's called Riverwood, by the way.
Yep.
Like a freaking 120 hours into the game, and I still haven't done much of the main story.
Yeah, and this entire episode so far, the 25 minutes we've been going, I really need to just boot up Elden Ring and start playing it. I said I'd play it on my own time, but I have not booted it up since I had a bunch of backseat gamers come at me when I streamed it that one time.
Yep. Nope.
So
I like playing that amount.
I'm gonna be honest. I'll be surprised if I get back to playing it. Not because I don't like it. I just once something falls off that far, I'm like, oh, I want to go back and restart it. And
yeah. I don't want to fight that bridge guy again because I beat him at like level 15 and I'm very proud of it. So like it's Margaret. Yeah. Margaret.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Is God of War open world? The new one?
I don't know.
I
just started
played it actually. I don't think so. I think that one's pretty.
I don't think so.
There might be like open world areas. But I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I'd be making it up.
It's more level focused, and the way they made the game, because they basically made the game all in one camera shot, and it would be very hard to execute that in an open world. So I want to say no. You can yell at me in the comments.
Yes, I'll find out.
So,
but, I mean, I was gonna say that about Sony games recently, right? Like their recent hitters have been open world games. Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man, Horizon again.
That game. Ghost of Tsushima was perfect in my opinion.
I have not beaten it. Days Gone.
Days Gone. Yep.
Like all their PS4 games, I'm just feeling like.
Is it really a correlation that it's because they're open worlds, or is it just because every game they're putting out is a freaking open world game?
I don't know. I don't know, but I mean, this is just the facts, right? Like their main games have been all open world games, minus I guess God of War because I've never played. I can't say, and I guess Last of Us isn't open world.
No,
it's pretty linear.
It's pretty linear. It's a storybook that holds your hand through it, you know. So
I love games like that.
I do too.
I'm playing that The Quarry right now, and 80% of it is just reading and like making selections for the dialogue and stuff. But it's cool. I enjoy it.
If it makes you feel better, that's kind of how Persona is too. It's just a lot of reading. It's a big old graphic novel.
Yeah,
that shit's my jam. You know.
I love
so
Persona. Yeah. I mean, even like the upcoming. I mean, Sonic, right? Sonic's gonna have an open world game now.
Sonic is getting an open world game.
Well, okay. I think the director came out and saying it's open segments.
Oh,
kind of like I would say like Pokemon Sword and Shield, where it's not all open world. It's got its areas that are open world.
Okay, that makes sense. We're at 28 minutes, by the way.
Yeah, you want to take a little break?
Yeah. Cool. I think we should take a little break. You want to wind us out for the first act?
Yo, I mean, I would consider this a wind up, but we're gonna say, listen to our words from. Are we getting a sponsor? Are we getting a?
We got a sponsor.
Oh,
this is a good one.
Take a listen to our wonderful sponsors coming up.
Yeah, totally real.
Hell yeah! I haven't heard that in a while.
Oh yeah. And now, Mr. J laughs for 1 minute without context.
Well, I have to pee really bad.
This has been Mr. J Laughs for 1 minute without context. We're back.
All right, folks. Second half of this. Hopefully we haven't lost viewership. Like probably like half of our listeners were just probably fucking nerds talking video games. Fucking middle-aged men.
I think we should be good. It's not Star Wars.
That's true.
Yeah. Nobody likes to hear. Oh, great. We
Oh,
just
no,
lost
you
our.
did-
We
you
just
said-
lost our retainment. Now I hope you're happy.
You said
We're
Knights
gonna
of
see
the
a
Old
bit-
Republic, man. I don't know.
The analytics, right when I say Star Wars,
It's gonna go drops.
and then I just said it again.
Doof. Oh god. Hey, I got you in my ears. Keep going.
All right, so we're gonna talk a little bit more of we're gonna give a Mr. Ryan over here. Mr. Ryan Damas is gonna give a history lesson. He's been around that long to talk about RPGs.
Well, back in my day,
Take it away.
Jesus, guess my dogs are gonna take it away.
Hey.
So open world games in a sense go back pretty damn far, right? We're talking about like 300 BCE. Yeah, I know, crazy, right? There was a game called Go.
At the dawn of
It was
time.
it was like an ancient Chinese. It was like a mental board game. It was kind of like a predecessor to chess.
Oh, fuck, this is actually a history
but,
lesson. I was just kidding.
Yeah, it actually is like the origin of open world gaming. Over time, this evolved and evolved and evolved, and we started getting things that were more like open world role playing fantasy games that ended up with stuff like Dungeons and Dragons, which everyone's aware of, which theoretically is open world gaming.
Hey Ryan, what's Dungeons and Dragons?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Jay.
Please don't die. I don't think I can edit around to death.
And this is where Ryan was.
This is where Ryan was.
Chair got him. Anyway, the first actual open world game. Now, keep in mind this is not open world sandbox like we're kind of used to today, but the first open world game, video game, was a game called Jet Rocket that was made by Sega. It was an arcade machine game. Where basically you flew a jet, and it was an open-ended 3D world map that you could just you could keep going, and you could go any direction you wanted. It was non-linear, right? And they improved upon that and made a game called Hellish Shooter later in 1977. And that kind of paved the way for some of the more recognizable open world games like The Legend of Zelda, which we talked about earlier. Going on from there, we had games like Star Cruiser in 1988. And then finally, the big kahuna, the one that changed open world gaming forever, in 2001, Grand Theft Auto 3. Man, do you guys remember when Grand Theft Auto 3 came out?
Yeah, I remember my parents.
When Grand Theft Auto 1 came out.
Yeah,
I remember when my parents never wanted to buy it for me. Back in my day.
What'd you say?
God, now we're really showing our age.
I know. Gonna go watch.
So I'm kind of the age where like like it came out in 2001. I would have been 10 at the
It was the
time,
fourth
and
grade.
obviously, like not a lot of 10-year-olds were playing Grand Theft Auto. I do remember playing it, but I didn't put like a whole lot of time in it. I remember Vice City very well.
I remember
And I put a lot of time into Vice
I
City.
remember Grand Theft Auto was like very notorious when it first came out. Like my Mexican ass parents knew about it and knew they were like, no, that game's from the devil. You can't buy that. Can't buy you that game.
God, that's an that's an episode in itself that I have a lot of problems with.
That is that would be a good episode.
If you guys want to take a week off, I will sit and rant into a mic for an hour and a half straight alone. Like seriously. Anyway,
I actually have a lot to say about that. I think that would be
After
at least an
hours?
after hours.
Yeah.
I think that's a good after. We'll think about that. Okay, noted.
Anyways,
Anyway,
yeah, my parents knew Grand Theft Auto very well.
Yeah. So, after Grand Theft Auto 3, we finally had our first big like open world sandbox, and that really kind of started to spawn a lot of evolution from there, right? We started to have stuff like Shenmue, Metroid, even like actually those might have came out a little bit before, but some people were talking about how actually what started it was Crazy Taxi.
Oh,
and that Grand Theft Auto 3 took a lot of its elements from Crazy Taxi. There was a big debate about that at the time.
Okay. I guess here's something that I felt like as open games, especially after Grand Theft Auto 3, the gimmick was let's make them bigger. And that was the big selling point that everybody was like, and even like I'm guilty of this as a kid, is like, oh, dude, this one's twice as big as the last one, twice as big. And now here I am at 35, bitching like, why is it so big?
Yeah, and that all culminated in one large event, probably the biggest game folly in recent history. Kind of recent now; it's been a little while, but No Man's Sky. When No Man's Sky came out, it still has not been fully explored. Now, this is all procedurally generated, so it's not like someone sit there and handmade 15 quintillion planets, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of one of its downfalls is it just all looks like a jumbled mess of procedurally generated creatures and fauna and flora and stuff.
I heard the game's fun now.
But I've heard that too. I had some friends who still play it and say it's come a long way, but they put so much effort into making it the biggest open world game of all time that when it came out, it was virtually 15 quintillion empty, lifeless planets that you couldn't really tell apart. Like if I went to my first planet when I touched down in that game, and then I went to 3 more planets, I did not remember a damn thing about that first planet. There was nothing special about it.
Yeah.
I probably didn't even remember the last one I was on.
Yeah.
I mean,
it definitely
it was empty.
That's true. Like the other quintillion of them. Like it didn't really. Yeah. Like the planets weren't unique. Like occasionally I would stumble upon a planet like, oh, that's cool, and then I'd be like, I'm going to make a base on this planet. And then we have something that was kind of on the opposite. They had like a big empty world of boring planets, and then you have Cyberpunk, where they had a way overpopulated world, because where you and not only not bugs aside and everything like that. That open world in particular just had way too much going on. That was just. And maybe this is just me getting old. It was just too stimulating. It was too much stimuli for me. In a way. So, like, where do you draw? And one thing I wanted to segue into is, do you think that these open world games keep showing up because directors and lead developers, they just want to put as much as they can in out of passion, or is it just something that a bunch of suits say like, we have to make this? And
well, I guess if you have companies like CDPR who made Cyberpunk and also The Witcher. And I don't know other games. Those are just the 2 games I can think of. That they're kind of known to make these big open world games, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
And The
maybe
Witcher
it's
was
different.
perfect, by the way.
I've heard, but I also heard it had a rough launch, just like Cyberpunk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it did.
So I don't know. Maybe like if you have companies like CDPR working on them, you kind of you're expecting this big game, right? This big game with all this stuff to do. Versus you have newcomers that develop No Man's Sky. I don't know the name of the company, and they're promising all these things, and then they don't deliver. I feel like that's their fault. Well, I don't know. I'm going somewhere with this, but I can't like think of what I'm trying to get to.
So I have a couple things on this. One is, yes, if I'm a developer and I released, let's just say, I released Crash Bandicoot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very linear gameplay. I don't know why Crash Bandicoot's the first linear game
because it was fucking awesome.
Yeah. And then I'm this developer and I see Skyrim get re-released 1,500 times and still sell as many copies as it did on its previous iteration.
I'll never understand.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna try this for me. I'm gonna try this open world thing. Apparently, people love it. And then the second thing is, I think we kind of asked for this. I think we're partly to blame. Maybe not you guys, but I think a lot of people.
No, it's definitely our fault.
We played some of these badass open world games when it wasn't every game, when it was just 1 out of 10, 20 games that were open world, and thought, this is amazing. I wish Halo was open world. That would be cool. Like, you know what I mean? And developers were like, well, fuck it, let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
Would y'all say that Breath of the Wild was a big influence in the recent wave of open world games?
Absolutely. I think they proved that it was possible to do it, to take a well-known franchise that was a certain way and completely change the way it's played. Now, Zelda was kind of open world before, right? But not to the extent of Breath of the Wild. I could run around Hyrule all goddamn day.
But you're not getting. You got certain areas locked.
But you were, you were kind of locked out until you got this piece of equipment or whatever.
I definitely agree with that, because Zelda as a franchise was a formulaic game. If you played a Zelda game, you knew it was a Zelda game. It hit like 7 bullet points that would constitute it as a Zelda game. They took it and broke the mold. And then fast forward, Pokemon Arceus. Okay, Pokemon is the most formulaic franchise of all time, and they broke the mold. And I felt like Zelda kicked the door in for them to let them to say, like, okay, it's okay if we take one of our primary franchises and changes it up. And I think, yeah, you're right. We were asking for it, but those are two that I think were for the benefit, because I did eventually beat Breath of the Wild, and yes, I did eventually beat Arceus, and I loved every minute of Arceus, like every minute of it.
Well, not to, I think Zelda did everything right. Well, we have our little nitpicks here and there, but I think for the most part, as far as making open world game, they did everything right. Which what the big thing, and I'm gonna shout out Daryl a little bit here because he does talk about it, is the having different solutions, like multiple solutions to a problem or multiple ways of going about something. In previous Zelda games, you would use this one weapon until you unlocked the next better weapon, and you would just move to it and you'd keep that until the next better weapon. But in Breath of the Wild, you have multiple different options to choose from of how you want to approach things. And when it comes to different puzzles, there's different ways to use them based on your skills or whatever they're called. That's been a while since I played. Your little magic-y things like magnet and stuff.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But that's what the point of an open world game should be. If you're still following that same formula of like, you're just going to do the same thing over and over with the same gear, with the same item, whatever, what was the point of making an open world? Like, you're giving the illusion of choices.
Yeah. And a lot of people shat on that weapon durability thing. I personally liked it because we've all done it where we play an open world game, or any game for that matter, and we basically I'm going to kill them with this, or we nerf ourselves in a way. All they did is made a mechanic, you know, And that way, in your headcanon, whatever headcanon you write for your character in the game, you're like, yeah, he loves to use these and this. Like, it's just, I thought that was a fun aspect.
The ladle is my
and
favorite.
they still semi locked you out of stuff until you got those new like what Sheikah spells or whatever they're called. What the fuck are they called?
Honestly, I haven't corrected you because I can't remember the name of them.
Okay, well, until you got your new abilities, or until you leveled your stamina up and were able to climb that high, or whatever. Like, so they did it in a smart way where they still kept it open world, but they still kept you from doing stuff that you needed to wait for until later by certain different mechanics.
Yeah,
they locked the Master Sword like that. You have to have a certain amount of hearts before you can use it.
Yeah.
What would be your guys's? Which, by the way, before I go into this, Ryan, did you want to circle back to history at all?
No, I mean, I think that really covers it. Okay. One thing that I didn't notice is I was just sitting here scrolling while we were talking. In 1996, Elder Scrolls 2 came out, Daggerfall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I've never played Daggerfall. I started at 3 and went from there. It's one of the biggest open world games there is. I did not realize how big it is. It's 62,000 square miles. And like gamers were literally like making their own maps and like sharing them with each other for how to get around to do certain stuff because it was so big.
Wow.
In comparison, 62,000 square for us dumb people, who would it be? What's the closest game to that?
Well,
or
to give you an example, Final Fantasy 15, which we all know pretty freaking huge, 700 square miles.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
versus 62,000.
Holy shit!
That is nuts.
Holy shit!
That is
True
insane.
Crime Streets of LA. We were talking about this last night, Jay. They recreated like almost 300 square miles of downtown LA.
That's pretty badass.
And in this game, and that was in like 2003 or something like that. That was only 200 and like 240, 280, something like that square miles. Not even close to that 62,000. So that's all I would say on that. But go ahead, Z.
I wanted to ask like what would your, since these get like the issue of bar for us was like we have no fucking time like to play these games. What would be a good, like, do you have any solutions like that cross your mind?
This podcast gets really successful and I quit my day job and then I can just play all these open world
and I can talk even more about them.
Solution number 1, of course.
Do we have a plan B? Nope. Okay, plan A.
Just not play them. Play 2 hours of them and move on.
Take a week off of work. Let your parents know.
A gamecation.
Let your loved ones know you're gonna be. You might be a little AWOL, but you're around. Just don't bother me.
I do that with every major release with Christina. I was like, hey, I let her know like months or a year in advance when this comes out. Bye. So. Yeah.
But
what do you guys?
I don't know about
go for it.
I was like, I don't know about a real solution besides actually just taking a week off or something, or take like a day or two, a couple of days off, just binge it. Hopefully nothing happens to ruin it in that day off you requested. You
guys have both jumped into the world of MMOs before.
Yes.
Would you constitute those in the same scope as open world games?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Very much so.
Oh yeah. I don't,
because once again you can run, you could go anywhere. Now you might be level 5 running into a level 80 zone and get creamed immediately, but you're allowed to go try.
Yeah. That's what I like.
Did we establish the difference between open world and like open segment? Because that was to consider an MMO an open segment game.
Yeah, we're on it.
Well, I thought we were going to go off our own definition, but yeah, we can look it up too.
Don't worry, I get
what you're saying. So,
see, like you said, right? Open world sandbox versus open segment.
Yeah.
And I think sandbox falls into. I mean, I think the most recognizable would be any Bethesda game, really, right? Like where you're just dropped in and you could play that game for 1,000 hours actually accomplishing stuff and never play the main storyline, which is kind of funny because it's like the basis of time in any kind of like emergency is like out the window in those games. With the contrast being something like Majora's Mask, where you're like, I know I only have 3 days, and there's like some urgency to it. But like with Skyrim, for example, you're like, like Alduin's out there just fucking shit up, and you're like, I'm gonna go be in the Thieves Guild and just rob people for a week.
Alduin is literally like eating children in the next village over, and you're like, ooh, fishing.
I'll deal with it when I get there.
Yeah,
I gotta find all this Nirnroot.
Yeah, I mean, I think Skyrim is just a physics engine game with a story attached to it, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely Skyrim. I honestly think GTA 5. That would any GTA game would constitute as an open world sandbox.
Yeah,
open segment.
I'm thinking like what you said about like KOTOR earlier, and that's kind of open segment because you are like moving along pretty much a linear storyline, and then you get to these open areas that you can go do different stuff, and you got side quests there and stuff. But like you're supposed to be there,
yeah,
like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that Mass Effect.
So you said Sword and Shield.
Sword and Shield. Yeah, I would say. I mean, it's all connected, but you get the towns, and you can't really just. I mean, I guess you can't explore. Not really. No, you can't. But
is that the last few have all ran together? Is that the one that has the wild areas?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's open segment, I would say.
Yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't even consider Arceus. That one's definitely open segment because you can't just walk straight to the open areas. You have to travel. Sit through a loading screen.
Yeah,
I mean, the areas you go to are explorable, but you can't just like say, I'm gonna walk to this other area that's connected to this area.
Does a loading screen break it from being an open world game, though?
In my opinion, yes.
I do think that's highly opinion based for sure. I think there would be some strong opposition.
Because I mean, I would also consider MMOs open segment.
I would ask people what they think about that in the comments. What constitutes an open world game versus an open segment, and does a loading screen mean it is not open world?
I mean, Halo Infinite definitely had moments where you go through like a little bit of an elevator or something. You're like, oh, this is just a glorified loading screen, and it gives you the illusion of open world.
And technically, like, think about like Fallout, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you walk into a town, the doors are specifically placed where you can't see in the town, like when you walk in or whatever. Actually, you have to like click on the door, and then you get a little bit of loading screen, then you're in the town, because they can't render everything in the town as well as the overworld. So that's why you have to go in the town.
Yeah,
like you have to click on the door and go in the town.
I love how we've turned this little
maybe
friendly like discussion into a thought exercise.
Well, I'm trying to think like maybe loading screen wasn't what I was thinking of, because then you can justify.
I know what you're thinking. There's like separated areas that you have to travel between. They're not actually connected.
If you
consider, like I can't walk out of like the ice mountains in Arceus and go down to the swamps. Like I have to travel back home and then.
You'd have to if you considered Arceus an open world game, then I'm gonna say that you consider Monster Hunter an open world game.
Yeah.
And see, I don't consider Monster Hunter an open world game. I'll consider an open segment because you have these areas that you can explore, but you can't they're not connected in any way.
But I can go to whichever one of those areas whenever I want.
And in Monster Hunter, you could. Yeah, in Monster Hunter, you could. Wait, I don't know. I haven't played enough of Monster Hunter.
Monster Hunter, all the zones you go to are areas. Like they're not procedurally generated. They're all the same areas. So like there's the winter one, the desert one, the swamp one.
The biomes essentially.
They're all biomes,
which is basically the same thing as Arceus.
Yeah. God, I should play more Monster Hunter. Jeez. I don't have any fucking time.
Well, we got into it pretty good there. I liked it.
I did too. I think that was fun. That was a fun thing. It definitely was a fun thing to
It's
Like
fun
I
to
said,
disagree,
like
right? It's fun to disagree with each other.
yeah.
I always disagree with you.
I just like the fact that we did turn it into like a thought exercise of like, you know, it's like the George Washington's axe or like as our boy Vision. I have to bring up Marvel, Ship of Thesis.
Hey, Marvel.
Marvel.
Just to have Steven make fun of us more, but yeah, like Civi is like, well, what constitutes this? If this happens, is it still an open world game?
Yeah.
Is soup a cereal? Is cereal soup? Is a hot dog a sandwich? You know?
We should have started the podcast with this.
Yeah.
Let's just hit
There is a
cereal is not a soup, by the way.
Why is that?
Because you could eat it without the milk and it would still be cereal. If you took the soup out of the bowl and just left everything else, that would not be soup.
Well, yeah, but
it'd just be ingredients.
Yeah, same with the cereal though. That's an ingredient in the soup. It's a gazpacho.
God, what did you start, Z?
We're doing it as a soup of a cereal soup episode right after this.
Is it
I'm gonna
soup
get Gordon
hot,
Ramsay
though?
as a guest.
Is it soup hot though? Supposed to be hot?
Gazpacho is not.
Gazpacho is not.
Damn it. I'm on your side, Ryan.
Why'd you have to for the summer? Hey man, as somebody who worked in restaurants for 12 years, you know, I'm gonna die on this hill. You know.
But I mean, I guess like Ryan said, right? You could eat the cereal by itself, and you can't eat the noodles raw.
You can do anything if you have enough gumption.
I mean, by that logic, anything could be anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything could be a dildo if you try hard enough.
After hours starting right now.
I know. We're doing our after hours episode. Anyway, my final thoughts.
I think we covered some good stuff.
Yeah. This has been a great episode. Very productive.
It's starting to sound
Let's go back to talking about chairs.
This is starting to sound a lot like episode 1 when we were all over the place.
Is a couch a chair?
Ooh.
Are we really doing this?
Is a couch a chair?
Are we gonna go freaking Confucius?
There's no loading screen when you move from one side to the other.
If a tree fell and nobody heard it, did it really fall?
Oh my god. Anyway.
Let's wrap it up, Jay.
All right. Well, that was fun. That will make for some fun bloopers, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's just gonna be in the episode. Who knows? I'm not the editor.
It's me. I never cut shit. So.
Well, that was fun. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. We kind of took this style the same way we did our urban legends, right? We took it serious and then we just shat on it completely.
Tales of this time.
We don't take anything seriously.
Never.
Ever.
That's true.
We piss off a lot of people that way.
That's true.
Fun.
Hey, make sure if you're not already, maybe think about becoming a Patreon patron. That would be awesome. It really helps us out a lot. And this season, we plan to post a lot of additional content on there. Have a whole lot of exclusive stuff.
And you get a chance to be in it.
Yep. You get to come join one of our after hours episodes and talk to us about whatever you want to talk about.
Free merch of your choice.
We're gonna have game nights where you come play games with us and kick it. So it's awesome. You get some free merch. Speaking of merch, check out our merch store, chaoticpubcast.com, where we have loads of cool shirts like the one Jay's wearing right now, as well as some from our awesome commercials that have been stylized.
Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Any last ones? Follow us on Twitter, Instagram. Smash that subscribe button. Hit like on the video, please. You don't have to do the notification, but we don't care. Follow us on our Twitch accounts.
Yeah, and let us know what you think about open world games in the comments.
Yes,
please. And if you disagree with us, please do. Yeah, I would love to hear. I would love to open discussion.
I'll sit here and argue with you on YouTube comments.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
All right,
we'll only delete them if you're wrong.
Yeah, which is probably the case if you're arguing with me.
Yeah, if a comment gets deleted, it's Jay.
All right, this is the longest outro we've had. All right, bye.
See you guys.